Well, hello there. Greetings and salutations. It is I, Johnny, and you're listening to the Who the Heaven Is I podcast. I took a break yesterday, but then I did give that extra episode last week, so I'm still on par for one a day, so that's how I figured I could do that. And things are going to get quite nice for all you podcast files out there, as today, for the beginning of Mental Health Awareness Month, I'm launching another podcast, just in case you couldn't get enough right now, with I, Johnny, on the Who the Heaven Is I podcast. Boom, taking to the gear, and starting out a brain-centric podcast with Judy Batista. Well, she's going to be appearing on it. She's from Warwick Cares, a group that really, it's an advocate for mental health awareness and support and all these resources. And she is a pillar, a champion of light. So many things in the community. And we're going to meet up today, and she's going to be on that. So there's that. But how you all doing out there? I appreciate you all for listening, and thank you for the feedback I've been getting. Don't forget that, there's poll questions and regular questions when you go through Spotify. But I want to start this episode a little differently. I want to do a guided meditation because as it is Mental Health Awareness Month, if you can't get out of your brain, if your brain is so information overload, it can be hard to drive the car of your body, right? Like, your brain controls everything. And if your brain's in a funk, I like to think that the rest of your body's kind of in the funk too. And sometimes we don't even realize it because it's like all subconscious stuff. But the ailments in our body come a lot of times from some psychosomatic things and just stuff going on in our head. And so if you've never done meditation before, it's really just sitting still, right? And just kind of just forgetting about everything. And sometimes that's what you have to do to reset your mind. And so what I want you to do, and you can do this really if you're in the car listening to this, then I don't recommend doing this. But actually, you could technically just be, like, I've done driving meditations before. But once again, I am not a professional meditator. The driving one was, stay focused on the cars in front of you kind of thing, and meditate on that. But then last thing I need is a lawsuit. We live in a lawyer-esque world, right? So if you're in a place where you can accommodate this, where you're not operating a moving vehicle or working with heavy machinery, then let's go on this just a little 1 minute journey. Dan Harris from the 10% Happier app and from ABC, he does a quick 1 minute one on his app, the 10% app, and mine is going to be very similar. It's just a quick clearing, and then we'll get on to this amazing episode because I've got so much to talk about. That's my little hook, the fear of missing out, so you don't leave when I start this meditation, because it's going to be silent for a little bit. So what we're going to do, get into a comfortable position, and you can do this with your eyes open or closed. Now, if your eyes are open, the goal is not to start like wandering your eyes around and staring at everything. Just kind of focus on one thing and just clear it out. So, okay. So, first, breathing is really important. Sometimes we're moving so fast that we get into a state of, unbeknownst to us, like rapid breathing. So let's start by an inhale through the nose. Hold it. And an exhale through the mouth. Now, when you're doing this, here's a little fun twist to it. When you're breathing in, just imagine yourself breathing in all the answers to your problems. And when you hold it, those answers, they're solving all your problems. And when you let it out, your problems are going to go all away. Now you have to keep breathing, so obviously you're going to be seeking more answers and you're going to be dealing with more problems. And that's life. So let's try this again. Hold it. Okay, now that we got the breathing down, let's just sit for 1 minute and think about nothing. And if you start to think about anything, just start thinking about the breathing, the coming in, coming out. All right, starting now. And there you have it. That was a quick 1 minute meditation. I mean, it might constitute as a little bit longer because if you got into the rhythm earlier, but sometimes that's all it takes just to refocus and reset things. One of the things I've come across in my many laps around the sun is that yard by yard, life can be hard. But inch by inch, life becomes a cinch. Now, there are a couple of factors, coupled into that. If you keep a positive mindset, then it really stays on track. And if you think about all the negatives, then it starts to unravel quickly. But more so, if you could just, you still have your eyes on your prize and your big goal, but take small chunks, makes it easier to digest. I find that for myself, I've got a lot of moving pieces to the puzzle of my life. But first off, the speed at which we move can help us fit the puzzles a lot better. Because what I've found in my own personal life is when I'm rushing around and just jamming pieces here and there, it's sometimes, they might fit, but they might unfit because they weren't meant to fit. But when I'm taking my time and slowing down, like a middle-aged morphing Tai Chi tortoise, it's one of those things where everything falls into place much more easier. It's almost like the pieces to the puzzle fall in for me. Case and point. I took time away from my work yesterday, and I've got a bazillion things I'm working on, to just go for a walk. And so I was going for a walk to get some exercise and grab a bite of food to bring with me to the park along the way. And one of the things on my list was to call Judy Batista. Had it on my list because I know Mental Health Day starts today. And so because of that, straight up, I am waiting at the counter at the OPA. Going to see David and the crew over there. Some really great Mediterranean food. And as I'm looking at the menu, I'm hearing the voice. And I'm hearing a young woman talking about these events. And I knew exactly who it was. I look up and I say, "Hey, Judy." She's like, "Hey, I was looking for you." I was like, "Oh, very cool. Well, the universe found us together." And that's the kind of stuff that seems to happen in my life when I just pump the brakes a little bit and not rush through the crosswalk or that yellow light, but let the people go through the crosswalk and let the light turn red and take a pause and let things organically fall into place. So, that being said, when I am able to slow down and strategize, keeping the goals on point, things work better. And as we go into Mental Health Awareness Month, there's a couple things I talked about on different episodes. Expectations and the art of unconditional love, and making changes, and even today, like slowing down and speed up and setting goals. All these things have helped me maintain mental balance. And I know to some it might seem like, you got balance, like you're kind of all over the place. Well, there's definitely a method to my gladness. And much like when I worked in the orchard, it's like organized chaos. I know when I can have my things organized the way that works for me, things flow. Case in point, my younger brother, I was DJing in the city at the time, so my younger brother, Victor, might have been 14, 15. Yeah, maybe even 16. Let's say it was 16. Yeah, I think it was 16, actually. 15 or 16. He came to visit me in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and I was DJing at the time, and I used mainly CDs at that time period, and I had like 4 big 120 CD books, and then 2 like 90 CD smaller books, and all my CDs were in there. And each book, like one book was rock, one book was hip hop, one book was like mixed CDs and soundtracks. Now, I had to go to the store, and my brother was going to hang there. I was like, cool, I'll be back in a little bit, Actually, no, I had to go do something. I had to meet with another place I work for, the Caliente Cab. So I said, you can hang here, and I'll be back later. Whatever the reason was. Anyway, I left, and I was gone for like at least 2 hours, 3 hours. When I came back, my brother, who I love with all my heart, always tried to be so helpful, said, hey, man, I hooked you up while you're gone. I go, what do you mean? I saw all your CDs were out of place, and so I organized them for you. And I was like, whoa. See, I worked at Record World back when I was in high school, and one of the most tedious tasks we had was when we got shipment in of CDs. First, we had to organize them by record label. Then we had to organize them, I think, by genre. Then we had to organize them alphabetically. So it was like so much minutia of organization. And I would literally get headaches doing it. And the one manager, Dan, was like, you're taking so long. Yeah, because that's generally not how my brain works. I'm a more of a go with the flow kind of guy. Which, going back to my CDs, the way I organize my CDs is through photographic memory. And I'd buy the CD and I'd put them in the book, non-alphabetically. The only organization I did have was the genres of the book. And so, like, the rock book, which might have had Metallica first and AC/DC last, now had AC/DC. Then it had Aerosmith. Then it had Badlands. Then it had Bon Jovi. Like, it went through A's to B's to C's. And I didn't even get mad at my brother for 2 reasons. One, at that point in my life, I had started to get into my Zen level not a, like when I say Zen level, like a better flow where not reactive when someone does something wrong that ruffles your feathers. All too often, I see in life where someone will do something to someone and then they freak the heck out on them because things changed and it upset them. So now they take whatever this other person did and they don't even know if it was a good intention or bad intention, and then they spew at them, they get angry, they get hateful, and then you put that negative energy out into the world when you could have said, "Hey, why'd you do that?" And there might have been an explanation, but you could have had a conversation. Unless it's repetitive stuff, and then sometimes you do have to speak in a firm voice. But mostly, I believe that most people have good intentions, and they're not trying to hurt you. And so, you know, I knew my brother wasn't trying to hurt me; he was trying to help. But I said, please, please, please. I was firm about that. I said, hey, okay, please don't do this ever again. And I don't even think he got through all the books, which was fine. But because my system worked and I had it set up properly, it wasn't a problem to fix. Even though he took everything out and rearranged it alphabetically, my photographic memory and my system that I had in place, I was able to put the books back together within half an hour. Not even. Like, it just, that's the way my brain works. And as much as I have a lot of stuff going on right now, I'm doing my best to compartmentalize it and put things into place that they need to be. But then I have all these other factors calling in here. I have the fact that straight up my technology's failing. I'm through like 4 or 5 phones in this past year, and my budget right now doesn't allow for me to go out and get a new fancy. And there's that. Then I also have other people's urgent, important, and their lack of preparation then comes in on my plans and stuff like that when I have everything kind of planned out, and then they might not have taken care of stuff that they needed to, and then all of a sudden things are falling apart, and then they feel like they're on the frying pan. And this happens a lot in the business that I do with tech consulting, because it's a new thing for some people. The different technologies change all the time, and especially when you're consulting businesses, it can disrupt their whole business. So then I'm taking on that extra stress, and I have to learn how. I know they're not coming at me, but sometimes the anxiousness, that energy, is out into the air. It's in the universe, and it's a scientific thing. So I find slowing down and just seeking to understand what people are thinking before reacting, before being that reaction man or woman, just slow it down and just asking questions. I found that to be so useful during the crazy times of the pandemic, using the Socratic method, especially with my kids, because you're forced in a compression pot, like a whole, you're there. It's a pressure cooker with everyone being quarantined, and then you have all this anxiousness. Everyone's restless, and then you're trying to guide them through homework and stuff, and some things just weren't clicking. So then we'd go outside in the backyard, and I would just start asking questions. And the magic number I find is 3. If you ask the right level of questions, and I'm not saying yes or no questions. Did you do this? Yes, no. It's like, asking open questions like, so tell me what happened here. Sometimes it can be a statement like that. That's not even a question. Tell me what happened here. Just so you can get the understanding of what the person was going through. Then, asking an open question is like, how did you think this would help me? Could have been a question. And by using my brother as the example, I thought organizing them would have been helpful to you, right? But he didn't ask, hey, did you want them organized? And by no means am I trying to throw my brother under the bus. Love him with my heart. I know his intentions were in the right place, and the problem was resolved pretty quickly. And that's the other thing too. If the problem gets resolved, if you know the person wasn't of ill intention, then why are we throwing the negative vibes out there? Just, I can't get down with that sickness. And so I'm doing my best to, when you hear people say, protect my energy, it's, put yourself in better social positions and communication positions and eliminate any sort of opportunity for the anxiety to kick in, for the lack of clarity. Always put yourself in a position to have conversations, not commands and demands, because then you take away that other person's voice. And I ultimately think that, my friends, is the foundation for poor mental health. Communications, like people want to express themselves, and I this is why autistic people get so frustrated and caught up, because they're just trying to express themselves, and they express themselves differently. Kind of like me with my CDs. I think different, and so do many people. And if you don't allow people to be themselves, well, and that could be catastrophically bad on the mental level. That being said, I'm going to bounce out on this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please take the time to go into Spotify and pull up the podcast and answer the questions today. Today is, how do you stay mentally healthy? And I guess I'm going to ask if people meditate. I wonder how many people meditate out there, especially as we get into a society that starts evolving more and understands that mental health is a big thing. All the big Fortune 500 leaders do it. They take some sort of time just to meditate to some degree. Gary V's meditation on the 10% Happier show was so funny. You got to find that one. It's a podcast and an app, but the 10% Happier app with Gary V was funny because he is a can of energy. And I get that. Some people are just... And so for you people that are full energy, I would say go find that episode on the 10% Happier app. But for now, I am going to say the end is always the beginning. So this could be the beginning of something new for you as I end this episode. Thanks for joining. And because it's Mental Health Awareness Month, I'm just going to throw out there, if you ever need someone to talk to, there's the number 988. It's a national number. Just call it 988. But I'm going to give you my personal number. You could also call me too. 305-929-3783. Really, if you need something, I'm there 24/7 for people. Because I know sometimes things get dark. Now, I've been able to manage my darkness, but sadly, in the true state of the world, not everyone can. So if you get to that point, you don't feel like calling 988, hit up Aunt Johnny. We'll chat, we'll talk, all that other good stuff. But text me first so I know who it is, because straight up, I just don't generally talk to strangers unless it's something face-to-face, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of telemarketers out there. There's a reason why Pee Wee Herman did that on his show. Oh, no! Salesman! And they're robos, too. Now I know why we need a RoboCop. And so with that, I'm going to stop. Have a great day.